Okay, so it's a weekend morning and you want to do something different than the usual breakfast. What I love to do are my Aunty D's Triple C buttermilk biscuits, or their drop biscuits at least anyway. These are really fun to make. They take about 10 minutes and the kids can also help. So in my bowl I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To that I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Sorry, I was hesitating there because I also have baking soda here. 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. I have half a teaspoon of baking soda. And you can use, like, this is the brand that I use for baking powder, and just regular baking soda over here. And then, to your desired heat, add either a pinch or up to a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. I have my extra hot chili powder here, so hopefully I haven't overdone it. Okay, so you just mix those dry ingredients together, and to that, what we need to do is add 6 ounces or 1.5, I guess, sticks of butter. And I like to keep, when I'm not using my butter immediately, I put it into the freezer so it stores well. But it also works really well when I'm making pastry because it's actually frozen, and my fingertips are warm, and that's kind of the worst thing for pastry. So what I'm going to do here is, essentially I'll need sort of 3/4 of this in the bowl. So I'm going to cheat here. Actually, I'll open up this side. And what I do, normally, recipes ask for you to sort of cube these and then sort of break it in with a pastry cutter or your fingertips. My sort of hack or cheat on this is I actually grate it in. So I use the large sort of grate section, and then I just sort of grate it in. So you can see I don't really have to worry about those breadcrumb size consistency that you'll need, because you'll instantly get those breadcrumb sizes. So once I've finished grating the butter in, I'll be back. Okay, and we're back. So here is my butter that it's been grated in. It's got these nice little curls. I'm just going to take my fingers now and just mix that in with the flour. And I've got a piece of cheesecloth or just any kind of napkin that you can hold, because I don't really like the sound of the glass on the counter. So that's what that really looks like now. It looks really great. And to that, I've chopped up 3 tablespoons of chives. If you don't have chives, not to worry. You can use green onions or any other herb that you want. Wouldn't recommend cilantro, but you could do maybe rosemary or thyme. Those would be quite good. Oops, clearly I haven't done a good enough job of chopping that, but that's fine. So let's put that aside. Mix that in. And then to this mixture, we're going to add about 1, and I say about because it really depends on, what's going on with the flour, about 1 1/3 cups of buttermilk. Now, I don't normally keep buttermilk in the fridge, so what I have instead is I have a cup of milk, and this was a hack that my sister taught me. She's like, add just another 1/3 of a cup, so cup of yogurt. So I've got something that's maybe a heaping 1/3 of a cup of yogurt that I'm going to add into there. And if you've got yogurt and you've got milk, then you have buttermilk. I know online there are other recipes of getting buttermilk, like adding vinegar and all sorts of stuff like that. I find that this is the easiest and the most consistent. So I'm just going to give that a quick mix. Whisk is probably better for that purpose. Don't fuss around with it too much. And there's your instant buttermilk. Now be careful when you sort of pour it in here, I like to sort of pour sort of half at a time. And this is a sort of a gooey mixture. Don't expect this to be sort of like a rolled biscuit mixture where it's quite firm. And that's why I think it's always good to get the kids involved, because, you know, they always like to get their fingers dirty. And put the rest of this in. And, you know, I've never really been a fan of baking until I sort of discovered easy recipes like this. And this recipe is pretty forgiving. Oh, one more thing. I missed the 1/3 of the C, and that is adding our cheddar cheese. So let's do that. And I pick out whatever cheddar cheese I have on hand. So we're going to add 2 cups of cheddar cheese. And once again, this was actually frozen, and so it will blend really well. Now you can use any sort of sharp cheddar cheese. It just depends on how much of a cheese fan that you are. So there we go. There's our cheddar cheese. We've got the chives, we've got the chilies, and we've got the cheddar cheese now. So now I'm going to actually, let's see, mix that in. And that's coming together quite nicely. It still is going to take up that last bit of buttermilk that we made. Okay, and don't overwork the mixture, because you don't want really sort of tough drop biscuits here. Okay, and that's it in terms of what this mixture looks like. Now, if you have one of those sort of retractable ice cream scoops, you can certainly use that to put onto your baking sheet. I don't have one of those, so I'm just going to use my fingers, and I'll be back with the baking sheet ready with the parchment paper. But make sure at the beginning you actually set your oven to 425 Fahrenheit before you start mixing the ingredients. So the oven will be warm by the time you finish mixing the ingredients. So I'll be back. Okay, so the mixture has been mixed well. I'm back. And now you can put these on 2 baking trays if you want to really spread them apart. I prefer just to put everything onto 1 baking tray, but that's completely up to you. So, and this to me is a game of sort of a bit of estimation. Now these will sort of grow in size, so I like to just sort of place them like that. Don't mess around, don't pat around, don't compact them, because you know you want them to rise well. So I'm going to do that. And even if they touch in the oven, like, you know, it's only you that's going to eat them, so it's not a big deal. And let me tell you, once you make these once for your family, they will want you to make them all the time. You know, we used to have a group chat called Biscuit Bellies, and that was after our family were vacationing together, and I had made these biscuits, and as soon as they came out of the oven, because they only take about sort of 12 minutes or so in the oven, I mean, the tray was gone, and so that's a testament to how good these things will be. There we go. I'm sure professional bakers would sort of, you know, frown upon what I'm doing here, but, you know, I'm not a professional baker, and I'm really just doing this for me and for those of you that are watching, which is probably just, you know, mainly my family and colleagues and some friends. Okay, and the odd stranger that may have happened upon the on the channel. So that's it. Do not fuss around with it anymore. You know, perhaps they're not exactly the same size, but don't worry about that. And what you're going to do now is just pop these dozen into the oven. and then in about 10 minutes, enjoy. What I'm going to do while these are in the oven, however, is I'm going to melt about 2 tablespoons of butter so I can brush them with butter when they come hot out of the oven. These are best served warm, so let me stop talking and put these in the oven so we can start eating them. Be back in a minute. Okay, so it's been about 12, 13 minutes and I've just taken the biscuits out of the oven and they're this delicious golden color. What I'm going to do is, transfer them onto my cooling rack. I'm going to leave the paper so they've got this nice crunch at the bottom. And they're actually quite light, although they look very kludgy when I put them into the baking tray. I'm going to just move this hot tray out of the way, and then I'm just going to lightly brush them with melted butter, and it just adds that little extra something. Now, if you don't want to have this excess butter, don't worry about it. Now, these biscuits, while I make them for breakfast or a pre-breakfast snack, they could be great anytime. If you're having a soup, if you're having a casserole, any time, because they are so incredibly versatile and flavorful. So let me just lightly touch that up. Okay, so let's leave that over there. And I think this one over here is calling my name. So I'm just going to break that open for you. See how light and fluffy that is inside. And this is still quite hot, so I'm going to burn my mouth as I eat it, but it looks really good and I can't resist. So, that's really good. Really nice, really flavorful. You can taste the chives. There's the hint of the chili, but not overpowering at all. You just kind of feel it at the end of each bite. That's really nice and delicious. And a great any time of the day or weekend. Enjoy.